Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Well, we'll be vibing out as per usual. You'll be happy to know that I fixed the uploading music issue. It turns out it was not my phone at all, it was actually the USB cable I was using, so there you go. I had to swap my Anchor USB cable, my super long one, to just the default like Google Pixel one, which I think I got from a box, and like not even with this Pixel phone actually. I think it's on a previous phone. I don't really remember, to be honest. It's been a long time. But yeah, hello there everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 6:07 PM on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. Yeah, which is a bit of a shame because, you know, I mean, it's not one which I've permanently swapped for, to be perfectly honest. I still use that Anchor cable because the Anchor cable is one of those, it's not super long ones, like super long ones are like 20 meters or something. I don't even know what you'd need. I don't even, like, have a room, like, where 20 meters to one could, like, fit, I think, but, why is my phone ringing? Oh, okay, we must have sold stuff in the thing last night. Generally don't remember. But yeah, it's a pretty long one. I mean, it's like a meter. It might be a meter or 3 meters. Hold on. Let me hold it out. No, it's definitely more than a meter. That might be like 2 meters or something. Probably. Yeah, because it's about my arm span, I think. Maybe it's like 1.5 meters. It's a bit smaller than my arm span. And isn't your arm span meant to be like the same size as your height, roughly? And I'm about like 1.8, so you know, I'm pretty tall. Yeah, what was I forgot what I was going to say about this. And it's a convenient USB cable. Like, I remember I always used to use just the default cables. I don't know why we're talking about mobile phones so much. We're back to being a tech channel. Let's go. I say back to. I don't think I was a tech channel in the first place. But when I was younger, I especially always just used to use the default USB cable, you know, that you got in your box or whatever, because, I don't know, in typical Dear Darling fashion, I was like, why would I need to buy something else when I could just make do with the actual thing I have, rather than you being like, oh, you know, for convenience or for, you know, just necessity or just for ease of comfort. I remember my friends talking about it. Like, I can't remember, I think this must have been on GCSE times, like one of my friends, he bought like a 15 meter long, like, maybe 15 meters a bit long, but maybe like 10 meter long USB cable, and I was just like, you are insane. Why do you need a 10 meter long USB cable? That sounds like it's gotten to a point where it's inconvenient to use rather than fun. Not fun necessarily, but like useful, you know. But it's just like, that's so absurdly long. Like, what would you do with it? Obviously the only use case with it, really, at least from my perspective, is basically you have one plug socket in your room, or one way to charge your phone in your room, and your bed or whatever you normally like sit down is like literally across the room on the other side of like 15 meters away from it. You know, asterisks about that, and it doesn't have to necessarily be one. It just maybe you're a bit too lazy to switch out to like a different cable or something. Fair enough. Like if you leave it plugged into your computer and your computer's on the other side of a room to your bed or to your sofa, etc., you might want a super long cable, and plus super long cables are quite useful. But I feel like you get diminishing returns with a cable every now and then. I fall apart. I feel like I can only hear stuff in my left ear. Is it because I got a little right? Okay, I got a little hair in my right ear. That's why. Not hair in, like hair on. My hair was covering the headphones, and I was like, why is it so much louder at my left ear than my right ear? I thought it was a microphone issue, because if you don't know, I am listening to my own feedback on my microphone through my headphones, which is like one of those speech jammer things. Hold on, we've got too many conversation threads going at some point. I should talk about speech jammer sometime. But what am I putting away? I don't even know. It's gold raw plate. It's amazing we haven't filled up our inventory yet completely, but so be it. Yeah, like super long, well, cables in general. But you get diminishing returns with super long cables. You know, certainly there are cables which exist which are too short. You know, just way too short. Like, I used to have a charger for, I can't even remember what it was for, but it was like, the cable was literally like less than 5 centimeters, so like 2 inches long. It was meant to, I think it was because you were meant to charge something while you were directly next to it and not using it technically, but I don't even remember what it was for. But in my mind, I'm just like, that existed, I think. What else was I going to say about it? And that's obviously way too short. And honestly, most cables, you know, the default cables they give you, I would say they are on the shorter side of usefulness. Like a Bluetooth speaker that I had, and like a family had at some point, I don't even know where it is. Like the charging cable for that is like 10, 15 centimeters long, so that makes it about like 6 inches long or something, which is, you know, it's pretty difficult to really like plug it in and then use it, provided you don't like you can plug it, I suppose, in on the ground, and then like the sockets are usually kind of like on the ground in the first place, so it's like, okay, well, your music's down there, but sometimes you kind of want it on the table, you want it on the centerpiece or whatever have you. So I guess, you know, the lesson there is kind of to like charge it beforehand and then use it. Which interestingly isn't that like the philosophy for Apple users, is that they want you to never use like the computer mouse with the cable plugged in, so that's why the charging port for it is on the bottom, because they like the sleek aesthetic, I suppose, of no cables, which to be fair does look kind of cool, but also, you know, you gotta have a trade up here and there. You know, you can't sell completely on aesthetic. Some people, you know, need the convenience of it being plugged in all the time, and some people don't. You know, I've always been a stan, I suppose, of wired technology over wireless technology. You know, even the controller I use, I never use it on wireless mode. I just use it on wired mode. I don't have wireless earbuds or anything like that, or headphones. I just use wired ones. Even my mic's wired. My headphones that I'm using on my computer, they're wired. I don't have a wireless charging phone, mainly because this phone I'm using, Pixel 4a, is not compatible with it. Not sponsored. That'd be crazy. Could you imagine getting a sponsorship from Google? I wonder if people have. Maybe they have, I don't know. Maybe like tech reviewers probably get like phones for free or something, right? I forgot what I was going with this. Yeah, I'm a big proponent, I suppose, of wireless things. Like, of wired things generally. I'm nothing against wireless things, I'm going to be honest. It's just like my preference usually goes to wired because of the convenience of not having to constantly charge it, not having to remember to charge it. A lot of the time, you know, despite the fact I don't think I'd struggle with necessarily remembering to charge things, but I suppose the not the disarray, the deficit of not having it charged compared to the deficit of having to have a wire, you know, and I weigh those up in my mind. I'm just like, I much prefer just having a wire. I will say, certainly, I think wired headphones are definitely one of the more convenient ones, because, you know, and I use wired headphones, and when I'm out and about, it can be inconvenient, but also it's sort of like, they're so small, I feel like I'm going to lose them. They're very expensive. But I don't think they're as expensive nowadays, but certainly on release they were quite expensive when we started hitting the market. But for some things I did use wireless, like my old drawing tablet was a wireless one, not this way on one, the way on one before, the Q11K. Technically you could use it wired as well, and I think I actually did use it wired for the majority of the time, but then I started using it wireless one, but the main reason is because there was a bug when I used it wireless. There was a bug when I used it wireless when I used it wired, where it wouldn't like map properly onto the right monitor or something. Oh no, the buttons wouldn't map properly. I can't remember. There was something wrong with it, and I was like, okay, you know, I had to use it on wireless mode, and it works. But also it's because I think it's helpful, you know, for one, you know, being able to draw in whatever positions, and although generally you should try and keep like a ergonomic pose, I suppose, while you're drawing, so you don't, you know, completely ruin your wrists or everything. Oh, my computer chair just keeps like sliding downwards. But also, it's quite nice to, I suppose, encourage myself to draw more often, because a lot of the times, if I had to do the faff, I only had so many USB ports, I suppose, on my computer, so I couldn't leave it plugged in the entire time. So oftentimes when I'm like, oh, I should draw right now, just being like, the slight little hurdle of being like, I need to like find the cable, plug the cable in, and then, you know, get it all set up, can sometimes be a little bit of a too high hurdle for some days, just being like, I don't want to draw then right now. Oh, excuse me. But like having it be wireless is actually very convenient for the fact that you can just sort of like grab it, like flick a little switch on the side, boom, you're ready to go. I will say there is a very significant deficit about that. If I haven't charged it in a while recently, and it's low on battery, and it's in a time where I really want to draw, it's very inconvenient, I suppose, to leave it plugged in and also draw. Nothing's worse than I suppose, using the pen and trying to draw with it, but it being like plugged in, I suppose, and you know, you can feel that weight of a wire, which might sound crazy to say, but when the pencil, I suppose, or pen or tablet or whatever you're holding in your hand is so light, having a wire connected to it can kind of like weigh it down a little bit. And now I think, actually I came to this, not revelation recently, but like I remembered this revelation, is the fact that the tablet pen I'm using right now is actually wireless. I think it's got a battery in it or something, but I don't need to plug it in to charge it up. I've never really thought about why necessarily. I think I had a battery in when I set it up. I genuinely don't remember. But I was thinking about it, being like, I haven't charged my pen in for a while. Like, I should probably try and charge it. And I was like, where's the cable? And then I looked at my pen and being like, oh yeah, that was my old tablet which had the cable. This one doesn't. Instead, it's just got this like sensor thing at the top, which I don't even know what this is. I think this might be like mappable to an eraser, but maybe that's a different type of tablet pen which can do that. But anyway, it's pretty useful. Is all I can say. Yeah, so like super long cables, it's like, I don't know. When things are bigger and bulkier, I'm just like, yeah, super long cables make sense to me. You know, if you need like an extension lead to plug in your fan or whatever, it's because you want your base fan to have a reasonable length cable, but not like extremely long, because most of the times you plug it in, you're going to be like sort of chilling by anyway in the first place. Or if you'll be plugging it in at a place that you sit down, you know, a lot of the times you'll have access to a socket near places that you tend to frequent. But sometimes if, you know, you need that fan or, you know, heater or electrical item in a place which is much more difficult to reach, I suppose. And that makes a lot more sense, I suppose, to have an extension cable. Like, I suppose what I'm going with right now is it makes more sense to me to have something short and then plug it into something longer, I suppose, when you need to, especially for bigger items, because bigger items you don't generally need like super long cables all that often. But, you know, as it gets smaller and smaller, it becomes a threshold where it's sort of just like, maybe it's better to have a big one which can, well, you can't really go the other way, I suppose, now I think about it. You can't really start with a longer cable and then like cut it and have a smaller one or something, can you? Wolf Rage. That's going to be a bit difficult, I think, while it's raining. We could catch bugs. We could customize things. I think we should customize things because that's been quite a while since we've done that. Yeah. I forgot what else I was going to say about this. Yeah, but it becomes a certain point, I suppose, you know. Someone needs to plot the exact ratio that you need of, you know, size of object on, like, the x-axis, or maybe more like width of cable probably makes more sense than optimal length of cable or something. I don't know what on earth I'm talking about, but just like from a subjective standpoint, not from like an objective standpoint. Like objectively, I'm sure there's like some like things to do with conductivity or something, and loss of transfer of information and interference. Well, it's not really interference, is it? Like noise or whatever. Have you and something like that. I'm not really an audio engineer. Like the extent of my audio engineering knowledge goes like, I know what an XLR cable is and how it works technically. You might be like, what's an XLR cable? It's an audio cable where basically, you know, if you're transmitting electrical signals with a lot of sensitivity, especially like audio things, where like even the slightest bit of like ambient noise or whatever, or just like electrical magnetic interference, I suppose, just like passive ambiently in you know, the world can influence a signal here and there, you know. I keep saying, you know, but passing a signal down a cable, especially over a long period, means that it collates this noise. It's background noise, which, you know, can ruin like the quality of things you're recording, especially with like, you know, high quality audio things. You kind of want things to be crisp and clear as possible, with just exactly the only thing you're recording being the only sound there is. But you can't really do that, I suppose, necessarily over super long cables. So what you do with XLR cables is that you have you have two input. You send the message down two signals, down two wires, but one of them is inverted. I think this is XLR cables as well, by the way. And it might not be. This might be just a completely different cable, but we learned about this in electronics. But you send one signal, copy of a signal down just normally, and then you send one copy of a signal down but inverted. And then they both you put them like really, really close and tight to each other, so they both pick up the same level of noise, the same noise from each other, as each other, I should say, not from each other. And then once you get to the end, you take that normal signal as it is, and then you re-invert the inverted signal, and then you combine them together. And because the two signals are now in the same phase as each other, they'll just like reinforce each other. But the noise from one is now the anti-noise of the other, so when you add the two like audio signals together, they get cancelled out, thus reducing even more noise. Something like that. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm trying to think of like, what else did I remember from my education about super long cables? There's something about fiber optics or something where you can't bend them past a certain angle or something, otherwise the light signal doesn't work as well or something. And wait, isn't fiber optic like it's made out of like two wires, one inside the other, but and they have different like they're like different mediums, so light passes through them at different speeds? I might be making that up. I don't remember. I just remember a diagram of like a laser sort of like bouncing back and forth in a fiber optic cable. Anyway, super long cables. I wonder what the longest cable in the world is. And I don't mean from like a product standpoint, I mean from like an industrial standpoint. Like, you know, a cable, you know, running under the Pacific Ocean or something. I don't know why on earth you would run a cable under the Pacific Ocean. But, you know, theoretically, hello Galavira, we're going to ignore you because I don't think we have enough time to really sort you out. We need to catch a couple more bugs. But yeah, like maybe if you laid a cable like underneath a Pacific Ocean for whatever reason. And then, you know, transmitted data along it or something. Would you do that? You'd probably just do it wirelessly if you wanted to send over Pacific Ocean, like satellites or something. I don't know. That's definitely a question for like telecommunications engineers or something, not me. And that's so not me. That's from a Lego Movie 2, which I've not seen, but it's got a very catchy song in it called "I'm Queen Whoever I Wanna Be, the least evil queen in history," something like that. Also, where are the snails? Okay. I guess we won't do the catch insects ones because that's just difficile. We'll customize our shovel and we'll customize. Honestly, we've not customized for a while. I don't even know what we'd not use. Probably watering can. Queen whoever I wanna be, the least evil queen in history. You know what? Another thing is, you know, talking about cables, I suppose, is my mouse cable has gone majorly messed up now. And I just let, you know, Joy-Con Drift decide for me what kind of elephant watering can we were going to have there. Because there's now, like, kinks in the cable. But basically, it's like a plain sort of, like, normal rubber, silicone cable, or whatever. But it has, like, this, like, weaving on the outside to, like, reinforce it. It's like, I don't know, cloth? I'm not sure cloth's really the right word, but, like, maybe it's, like, nylon weaving or something. But, you know, I've had this mouse for ages, that's so much so that the nylon has now frayed and come apart at some points, and it seems to have like shrunk because now a bit of like the normal wire, the normal cable underneath is now sticking out of it. Not in a dangerous way because it's not like exposed wire, but it's just like, how did this happen? Like how did this nylon shrink? Was it really like that tightly wound to the thing in the first place that it made it so impossible for it to even have a little bit of slack? I don't know, maybe. Or my mouse cable, that is. What was I going to say about cables? I've also got all like these protector things on my cables to try and prevent them from like wearing out. I've got like these, not zip ties, what are they called? But not the zip ties, but one which you like wind around cables or whatever. But it's just like a piece of plastic with like a metal wire inside to give it like strength. I've got that like wound around the joints, I suppose, of the cables to make sure that they don't bend overly too much and fray the cable too early. I think it's doing pretty good. I might not have done it properly, so maybe it's not doing good. Who knows? Anyway, super long cables. Long cables. I don't really know where I was going to go with this. But before we round up this episode, though. Longest cable in the world. Not cable car, just cable. The 45,000 kilometers long to Africa cable. What? It's a submarine cable. See me wee. What's this? Optical submarine telecommunications cable, which goes, oh my god, it goes all the way from like Poland to West Australia to Japan? That is insanity. Okay, so, you know, it turns out, I suppose, laying a cable underneath the Pacific Ocean, not that outrageous. Maybe. I know that's not Pacific, that's like maybe Indian Ocean or something, but still. $40,000 kilometers, basically. That's crazy. Man, technology's so crazy. I can't even imagine setting it up. Or, like, adding to it or something. That's cool, though. That's cool. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode up here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So, until next time, bye-bye for now. Oh, that was a bit of a... Goodbye. Goodbye for now. That's not even at you. Oh, well.